Hi and welcome to Pontus Points. I'm going to give you my experiences after owning an electric vehicle Tesla Model Y for 50 months. So 50, 4 years and 2 months. The pros and cons, the economy, and a few other aspects. So over to that. All right. So, when doing a comparison and having opinions about a car, it could be that what I'm pointing out is a difference between a combustion engine car and an EV. It could also be between Tesla and other brands, some of them are EV, and it could be applicable only to the particular model that I am having. I have a four-wheel drive long range Tesla Model Y. I have selected this medium self-driving package. So I don't have full self-driving, but I also don't have sort of the most basic one. And this is among sort of the last ones built in Shanghai. If you buy one in Europe now, it's probably built in the Berlin factory. And I think I have hardware version 3. So there is a new computer that came out like a year or two after I bought my car, and that one is the version 4. So let's see where that takes us. So the table of content here, I have decided to take these topics. So the time it takes to travel, I think it's a fair comparison. Environmental factors, that will be a very brief one because I've done specific videos on that. I think the most interesting one would be the economy and also a few of the functions, the pros and cons compared to cars I've had in the past. I possibly should also mention that I've bought my first car in, I think it's 1998. So I had an Astra, an Opel Astra. That's probably a Vauxhall to some of you. And then I had a Vectra, Saab 9.5, and the Ford S-Max, and then the most recent one prior to the one I have was a Renault Espace. So the first save two are petrol cars, and the two last are diesel cars. So that's sort of my experience, and I can only talk from my experiences, and those are the cars that I had. So when making a number of the figures here, I'm also going to give you a bit of the background I used for the calculations. Most of this is relevant predominantly for the economy part, but I'm taking it here so you have that as a sort of a backdrop to what I'm saying. I have driven 160,000 kilometers. That would be almost 100,000 miles if you look at US miles, assuming my Google calculations are correct. And I've used, I'm going to give you numbers in Swedish crowns because I paid stuff in Swedish crowns, but I will also give you the equivalent in euros and US dollars. Thing is, I bought it 4 years ago, and there is of course fluctuation in currencies, and I couldn't sort of take into account. So I'm converting all the figures compared based on these conversion rates, even if they were not the relevant conversion rates 4 years ago. And I have no idea if I would have taken that conversion rate that was applicable at the time, if that would have made any sort of difference, but it was just a nuance for me. So I've done the sort of easy thing and used those. And there you have the kilometers to miles as well. When doing calculations, I need to have some sort of reference as well. So I'm taking the consumption of my car according to sort of marketing, but I'm also taking the consumption in the reference car. So my consumption is 0.169 kilowatt hours. I think it should be a big W there, but sorry about that, per kilometer. And I used an Audi A6. I think that's sort of a comparable car. you can do your own calculations and feed this with all the numbers you want, but I've just picked this, and there is no underlying idea why I picked this. I just picked it as one of the other cars that could have been applicable if it had been an EV, because I was actually shopping for an EV. And the price here for electricity, that's of course very different in different parts of the world, and also sort of different inside the countries. If I charge my car at home, when I lived in a house, the price was a lot lower than I have here. But during several of my longer trips, I'm using superchargers on the road, and they are more expensive. So I've sort of made an average here, and it could be that your average is totally different depending on if you're charging at home, if you're charging predominantly on superchargers, or if you are possibly even have access to free charging. But I picked 3 Swedish crowns per kilowatt hours as a sort of a medium price. And I've given you here the equivalent in euro and US dollars. And possibly you are paying something totally different. I couldn't cover all the bases here. And I'm also taking the diesel prices here. That was something I Googled yesterday. So these are the the diesel prices in Sweden at the time of recording this. So it's 16 Swedish crowns, 16.7 Swedish crowns per liter. And then you have the equivalent here in euros and US dollars. And I know that US dollars, you probably want your price in gallons, but I couldn't be bothered. So this is sort of a reference for you. All right, so the first thing that I would like to go into is how long does it take to travel a certain distance? Because one of the things you hear about EVs is the time it takes to charge and how big of a difference that makes for your travels. And I made a pretty rough graph. So on the lower axis, you have the number of kilometers you drive. And then on the other axis, you have how many minutes that would take. So if you are traveling less than sort of the range of your charged car, the time is absolutely the same. I mean, you don't need to fill up your car, and you don't need to charge the EV as well. So there is no difference. The first difference gets when you are sort of getting closer to emptying your EV, and that could be around 250, 300 kilometers, possibly even 350 kilometers. And the next time you need to do it would be, if you charge up to like 80%, it could be around like 450 kilometers or something like that. So here you have a graph showing you how much longer it takes to travel if you have an EV rather than if you have a combustion engine car. But please mind that this is assuming that you can start with a fully charged EV. So if you live in a place where you cannot charge your EV overnight, or at work or somewhere else where you can have basically a car almost fully charged when you start your travel, that graph will look a bit different. But it's also assuming that you don't need to eat and have toilet break if you have a combustion engine car, because not everybody could sit in the car and just drive 600 kilometers without eating or taking a toilet break. So again, there are a number of aspects that actually in real life change how those graphs look, but at least you have some sort of baseline for your forming your opinion on this. We have a summer house which is like 550 kilometers away from where we live. If I had one of those Audi A6 that I used for my reference, I think it would take us around 6 hours. I think we would have a break, and I think it would be probably shorter than I'm having with my EV. But it will take 6 to 6.5 hours. Whereas if I'm traveling using my EV, it takes 6.5 hours. minimum, and then it could possibly even take 7 hours. So if it's quite cold and the car is full, it could be that we need to charge a second time, and then it will probably take closer to 7 hours. We do have a mandatory stop, and that would be at least 30 minutes. And if it's cold and the car is absolutely packed, all 5 seats taken, and we have a lot of luggage as well, then we probably need to stop another 20 minutes to fill up a little bit more. But any trip shorter than 300 kilometers is the same. And I should also say that if we only need to charge once, most of the family is quite happy to have that break, toilet break, coffee break, eating break, because it minimizes the stress. You cannot drive as quick for as long, but most of the family actually appreciate that stop. When we need to stop a second time, that's less appreciated, I can tell you that. I know this is not something that everybody cares about, but for me, environment is a relevant factor here, and I'm quite proud to say that I feel that driving as much as I do, there is a burden on the environment, but using an EV, I am at least using less. If I had driven an ICE car, I would have been a bigger burden on the environment than I am now. The Swedish grid is powered basically almost by carbon neutral power sources. We have a lot of hydro, we have wind, and we also have nuclear. That's basically all of the power that's generated inside the country, unless we have exceptional conditions and we need to start one of those fossil fueled power sources in one of the places, or we need to import from other places where they have fossil driven. But throughout most of the consumption that we have on electricity, it's basically CO2 free. And I'm quite happy that I feel that I'm not robbing the environment as badly as I could if I had been driving something which is less environment friendly than I have now. The better thing is still to take the train, but that doesn't work for me, so I need a car. Okay, so the part that I invested most of the time is the economy part. And if you're looking at economy, there are always 2 aspects of economy. There is the capex and the opex. So the capital expense and the operational expense. Capital is any sort of money you need to shell out when you buy stuff. And then your money is sort of tied into that object for the time you're owning it. And then you can sell it and you get a portion of it back. So that is the kind of money that ties, the kind of economy that is tied into objects, capex. And if I compare this, I bought my Tesla for 820,000 Swedish crown, and here you have the equivalent in euro and US dollar, again using the conversion rate that is applicable now, not the conversion rate that was applicable at the time. I got a bonus of 70,000 Swedish crown. That was a bonus granted by the Swedish government for promoting purchases of electric vehicles. And my current value is around 300,000, probably a little bit less, but let's say 300,000. And I wouldn't know. I only know when I sell it, and I haven't sold it, and I have no plan of selling it. But giving a rough estimate of how much you get when you are, or if I'm comparing with the sales sites for cars, that's around the price that people could get for something that has sort of the same age and around the same distance traveled. If I had an Audi A6, a new one at the current price would be around 700,000, but of course there is no bonus for buying it, and the current value, if you've had it for like 4 years, would be around 300,000 as well. So I have paid more. Even after the bonus, my capital expense here is higher than it would have been with an Audi A6. But one of the key reasons, or the key reasons, is that when I bought the car, it was 820. But a few years after, I think like 2 years after this, there was a significant price drop on new cars. And of course, you would have a similar price drop to used cars, because how much I paid for the car when it was new is a very weak argument when I'm trying to sell it secondhand. I can, of course, not sell it more expensive than the equivalent new car would be, a new car that has a significant drop. So, I mean, without this drop in price, the normal price drop would have been down to like 350,000 or something. And then sort of the price drop would be rather equivalent to that of an E6. And then I would have the bonus on top of that. So again, my capex for owning an EV has been worse than it would have been if I bought an ICE car. But this is almost all of it is due to the price drop of Teslas. But the OPEX, so my cost of actually owning this car, and I've taken out some of the cost that will be the same. Insurance is probably around the same, and washing the car would be the same. Repairs of stuff that breaks, that's not related to the power of the car, they would be probably the same, right? So there is no reason to have any, to add that to the equation. I've identified only the parts where there are key changes to the cost base here. And fuel, I've added that inside quotation marks. Using this 3 Swedish crowns for every, and based on the consumption, power consumption of the car as per the marketing here, I have paid 96,000 Swedish crowns for traveling the distance I have traveled. If I had done the same using an Audi A6, the cost for the fuel would have been 160,000 Swedish crown. And here you have the comparison in euro and US dollars as well. Service, according to sort of the maintenance book, you need to have your signatures, and you need to hand in your cars on a regular basis and have them fill out the service book. Otherwise, you cannot have like a new car warranty that's still valid for you. I can only compare here with the previous car I had, the Renault one, and my assumption was that I paid around 40,000 Swedish for just service for the first 4 years. I paid absolutely zero for Tesla. My car warranty is still valid, and I need not to do any sort of service at all. I have handed it in once for changing air filters, but that was petty cash. So basically, and this is Tesla only. If you compare with other EVs, they are sort of mandating that you hand them in for service. So it's not applicable for all EVs, just the one I just happen to have. So here my total cost would be around 96,000 Swedish crown. It's basically only the electricity that is the cost here. But if I've had an Audi A6 here, the cost would be around 200,000 Swedish crowns for the same thing. Adding those two numbers, the Tesla would have costed me 531,000 Swedish crowns for the 4 years. So basically 125,000 per year, 130. And an Audi A6 would have costed me 600,000. So I have saved money owning a Tesla compared to owning an A6. Key reason is that we travel so much, so we are using the car for so much. If you travel a lot less, then of course your OPEX part would be a lot less. But most of the arguments are here around cost about EVs. are comparing buying a new EV versus buying a second-hand combustion engine car. And of course, that's not a relevant comparison. That is Apple and pears big time. All right, functions. There are a number of pros and cons about the car compared to previous cars I've had. First of all, the central console, the panel with all the functions, it's just amazing. Navigation and route planning, and it's planning where I should charge and how long it will take, and all of that. It takes care of all of that for me. That means that I can only use the charging points that are supported by the console, of course. And I can also be a bit annoyed that it doesn't sort of support all the apps. I would like to have basically an Android app store. So if you have a Google Auto, and Android Auto I think it is, or Apple CarPlay, you can install a number of apps and then you would just run that on your central console. I cannot do that. I can only run the apps that are supported out of the box here. But they are covering most of the cases. I do have my Spotify app and a number of kind of the other key apps, radio app, and all of those are fully supported, and that's just fine. Voice control is totally amazing. Compared to the cars I've had before, it's absolutely fantastic. You press the button and ask it to open the glove compartment or set the seat heater or something else. You can give that all using voice commands, so you don't have to fiddle with the main screen when you're driving. And the other part is sort of the remote control and access, given the fact that I have my mobile phone app, and then I can access the car and I can turn on the heat from remote, and I can see the charging level and do lots of other quite funky features using the app, which is nothing like I've seen on other cars. And this using the phone as a key, the only problem with that is when you're using another car and you just leave it and expect it to lock up, which they normally don't. So I'm just approaching my car and it unlocks because it detects that I have the phone with me, and when I leave it, it locks up and everything is absolutely fine. And then the software updates. Most of the other cars, or at least the old ones, you needed to hand them in during service and ask for a software update. And software updates didn't really contain any new features, and most of the repair shops were really hesitant to do it because no, you have software that works, don't mess with it. We're not really sure about that other thing, so don't do that. But here the car expects to be updated on a regular basis. Connect to your phone, so set up like a Wi-Fi hotspot on your phone, and then let the car download the updates for you, or place it so you are inside sort of Wi-Fi coverage, and then it can use that to pick up new updates. There is a new update every, like I'd say around 2 weeks, and some of them are major, but most of them are quite minor. But my car has added a number of features I didn't have when I bought the car, and that is absolutely fantastic. We will get to a bit of that in a while. So charging, and the thing that you just charge, you drive to the Tesla supercharger and you just connect the car, and it takes care of that. I register my credit card, and that is charged for the entire thing. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to identify by any other means than connecting the power outlet to my car, and then everything is automatic after that. That's absolutely fantastic. But there are a few cons. First of all, headlight. When the car was new, I needed to do it manually because the automated function was so poor. Then they upgraded it, and it was less poor, but it was still, I still prefer to do it manually because I annoyed other people in traffic because the automation wasn't very handy. But now it's absolutely amazing. Now it's using partials in the display, so it kind of fades out parts of the headlights, and it's all amazing. It's all automated, and I don't need to do anything. And it optimizes so I have the best light source I can possibly have when out driving. So from being a disgraceful bad feature, it became absolutely amazing. So I had to delete that from my list that I've kept in my head for so long. But there are two things that really annoy me, and one of them is the rear seat. So you have the sensor that sense if somebody is sitting and they're not using their belt, and if that happens, you get a very annoying sound, and it keeps doing that for a number of minutes until you drive fast enough, and then it sort of stops. And you would think that if you fold the seats over so nobody can actually sit there, that would be sort of breaking that alarm. But no. So if you fold them over and you stuff things on top of that, you will get an alarm that somebody's sitting there not using the belt. And this is super annoying. So one of the things you are buying kind of early in your life when you're having a car such as me, you would buy one of those dummies or two of the dummies, and you would use the dummies in the seat belt connections there to kind of make it go silent. That is the best way to do it. And this is really annoying. This is so annoying. The other thing is the steering wheel. If you're having lane assist and one of the other more kind of sophisticated assistance for driving, again, I don't have the full self-driving, but sort of the medium level, I need to wiggle the steering wheel a bit, because just holding or pressing or something like that doesn't do it. The sensor that I am still holding the steering wheel is based on sort of the torques in relation to the central parts. So I need to do a little bit of this and that on a regular basis. Otherwise, it will tell me that I'm not holding the wheel properly, and it will refuse to do lane assist for me. Super annoying, actually, super annoying. And the other thing is ghost brakes. I mean, if you're using this semi-self-driving line assist, sometimes it gets spooked by things. It could detect signs saying a lower speed on the diverting lanes and take them as applicable to you, and lowering the speed to that level. Super annoying. So if you are on a highway, you can drive 110 kilometers per hour, and the way off is quickly going down to 70, and you will also go down to 70 because it detected that. It's really annoying. So those are the three functional things that I find annoying with the car. The rest is great. I am super pleased with the car. I'm super pleased with the fact that the economy has been more favorable than I hoped for. But this rear seat trigger thing, annoying. Steering wheel woggling thing, annoying. And the ghost brakes, kind of annoying. My wife rarely uses lane assist, so she's not really exposed to the two last one. But she agrees heavily on the alarm from the back seat. Somebody sitting there when they are not. So this is what I have after owning a Tesla for 50 months. It's a great car. I am pleased to have it. I am a bit annoyed by the brand and how Elon Musk destroyed it by being a right-wing asshole. But apart from that, looking at the actual car, it's still a great car. Thank you for watching, and do enjoy your car.